Hi guys, James at Rampant Lion Reviews again for you today with another beer review. For this one we are going to head up to Stockholm once again. We're going to go out to Ekerö, out to the west of the city, and we're going to revisit a brewery who you've seen me review a good number of things from, but this is only the second beer that I'm reviewing under their new kind of branding, I guess you could say, that they've got. So for this one then we are going to go back to Northern Exposure Brewing Company, formerly the Nordic Kiwi Brewers. This one is the Dolphin Love, which is double dry hopped IPA coming in at 6.5% ABV, and from what I gather this one is their sort of flagship beer. So yeah, very curious to see how this one turns out. Hopefully this is as good as some of the later IPAs that I had from Nordic Kiwi Brewers, the Chaos and Clyde, and I forget what the other one was. Was it a big? It was a big version of the Tutti Frutti, a big double IPA, if I remember rightly. Those beers were very, very nice. The first beer that I had from the Northern Exposure brand, it was a bit of a shame actually, because I picked the Oh Dear, which was a collaboration beer that they did, and it was a red IPA, and I thought, you know, I picked the red IPA because it's a style that I absolutely love, but it had beets and things in it, and it was just a very, very kind of strange beer actually, so I really regret not getting this one as the first beer to review from them, but hopefully this one is better than the Oh Dear, and hopefully it's the same as the other IPAs that I'd been having from Nordic Kiwi Brewers just before they did all the branding change and stuff like that, because those IPAs were very good. I mean, the beers that I'd had originally from Nordic Kiwi were very nice, but then the later beers really had kind of stepped up a level in comparison. So hopefully this is one that continues on in the same vein as those later Nordic Kiwi Brewers IPAs. But yeah, this is their one of their flagship beers that they're doing apparently. So yeah, very curious to see how this one turns out, and in a few videos time you will also see me review the fake IPA that was released in May 2020, so keep your eyes peeled for that one. So yeah, as always with my reviews then, I'll tell you a little bit about the brewery before we taste the beer. If you want to get straight to the tasting, just fast forward. All the usual links are in the description below. That's the brewery website, the link to my other reviews that I've done, both from the Nordic Kiwi Brewers range and from the Northern Exposure range. You will see more added to this list at some point in the fairly near future. There's all the usual social media down there as well. If you want to see more reviews, do please consider subscribing to the channel. The whole channel of course has a geography based tagging system, so you can go into the home page and search for beer based on country, city, state, county, prefecture, whatever it is you're interested in. Do check out the playlists of beers from different countries. There is one there for all the Swedish beers that I've reviewed for you. That's constantly being added to, and as always, please do get in touch and let me know some of the other beers and breweries that you guys would like to see me review. It's always great to hear from you guys that are watching the videos, and the support that you show the channel is hugely appreciated. So anyway, on to my brewery notes then to tell you a little bit about Northern Exposure Brewing Company. So as I've mentioned to you already, this brewery was founded as Nordic Kiwi Brewers, and they're based in Ekerö out to the west of Stockholm, and it was founded by two New Zealanders, Craig Donovan and Karen Beattie, who started the company back in 2014. So apparently they began home brewing because the Swedish beer they thought was very, very expensive. I wouldn't think it's actually any more expensive than New Zealand, come to think of it, because the beers in New Zealand were actually pretty pricey. But soon they began buying hops from Nelson in New Zealand, and they set up a commercial brewery in a room using equipment that they found mainly on Blocket, which is basically the Swedish version of Craigslist or whatever. But Karen apparently met his Swedish lady in New Zealand, and then the pair later moved to London together, and he spent some time working in the construction industry before they moved back to Sweden. So Karen worked full time at the brewery initially, while Craig was part time and also working for Ericsson. And the niche of this brewery in the beginning was that they were brewing a lot of their beers, or all of their beers basically, using only New Zealand hops. So they were very, very unique in this regard. But since 2017 they've both worked full time at the brewery. In late 2018 they moved to a larger brewery in Ekerö, and that year they brewed around 100,000 litres of beer per year, and they were aiming to double that in 2019. I'm not sure if they did manage that, but I'm guessing they won't be too far off it. But they also hired a new Kiwi brewer to join them, and they were planning at the end of 2019 to install a new brewing system very, very soon. So I'm guessing that's already taken place. I couldn't find out whether it had or not. But at the end of 2019 they also changed the brewery name to Northern Exposure Brewing Company, and this means as well that they're going to use hops from elsewhere in the world and not simply New Zealand, although if you look at the some of their beers that they have, there's quite a lot of New Zealand hops still in use there. But as of May 2020, when I'm filming this review for you, they've released 10 different beers under the Northern Exposure name, and I'm not sure whether they are going to re-release some of the old, you know, the Nordic Kiwi ones and things like that. Maybe they are just, you know, completely starting afresh with their new brewer and stuff like that. So maybe you won't see any of the older beers, but it would be nice, I think, to see Tutti Frutti make its way back as a Northern Exposure beer, because that one, that last that was a double IP if I remember right, 8%. That one was pretty damn good, I have to say. So it would be cool to see at least, you know, Chaos and Clive were both good, and Tutti Frutti, it would be nice to see them make their way back under the Northern Exposure name. Maybe they'll re-release them with different names or whatever. But yeah, that's all I'm really able to tell you about Northern Exposure Brewing Company for the moment. Hopefully I can get up there actually and film a wee interview with Craig and Karen. That would be a really interesting thing actually, because I'm a big fan of the New Zealand hops and things. As I've told you before, I was out there in about 2015. So yeah, I had great fun out there trying all the different New Zealand hops actually, so, and different New Zealand beers. So it's a lovely, lovely place, New Zealand. I would love to, you know, go and work there for a year or two and do a lot of beer tourism and things. That would be awesome. So maybe something for the future, who knows. But yeah, really, really nice little brewery, this one. I've enjoyed reviewing their beers over the last little while, and I think it'll be cool to try their new sort of flagship beer, if you like. So yeah, check out the brewery website. You can follow them on Facebook and Instagram to keep up to date with all the latest goings on, and of course you can check out the Rate Beer, Beer Advocate and Untappd pages to learn more about all the different beers that they've done. So yeah, let's see how we got on with this one then. So yeah, as you can see, the artwork on these new beers has changed a little bit more minimalist compared to what the Nordic Kiwi beers were. I'm still not sure about how I feel about the branding, because they said they changed the branding because people were they didn't associate Kiwi with New Zealanders, they associated it with the fruit. So in some sense I can understand it. So Northern, so yeah, I can understand why they changed their branding, but it's still, for me, I still like the whole little, you know, Nordic Kiwi thing. I still quite like that. That sort of little niche, if you like. But this beer, as I said to you at the start of the video, this one is a 6.5% IP. I'm not sure if it'll be a hazy IPA or a New England IPA or what exactly it'll be, but it says it's double dry hopped, it says hazy IPA. Telling you lies already. But this one is hot with Kohatu from New Zealand, Mandarina from Germany, and Simcoe from America. So Simcoe, of course, we know has its lovely kind of soft passion fruity notes. Mandarina from Germany is about 8% alpha acid, if I remember rightly, and it has some very nice, you know, obviously big juicy orangey notes. And then Kohatu is quite an interesting one. So this one has, it's quite limey, but it's also got a little bit of a kind of pineapple-y note to it from what I remember, and it's a bit lower in alpha acid. I've got a feeling that it's only around like 8 or 9% alpha acid. I could be wrong there, but that one, it's not the highest alpha acid hop that you're going to find from New Zealand actually. So yeah, it should be very, very nice one. That's a nice kind of hop bill actually. So yeah, this one, the Dolphin Love, 6.5% hazy IPA. Let's get it out and we'll get on with the tasting then. Very curious to see what this beer has in store for us. I have to admit, I am very curious. You can smell some of that lovely juiciness coming out of this one already. The Simcoe, I think, is jumping out at you. But yeah, I have to say, one of the other beers that these guys do that I'd be very curious, I'm going to stick it in my Systembolaget basket after this review actually, because I was looking up one or two things about this beer, but one that sounds very nice is the Crossing Divides. It's got some hops in it that I really, really like. I think it had Racal and Nelson Sauvin in it, as well as a couple of American ones. So I think the Crossing Divides will probably be the next beer you see after the Kvike IPA, because that's one that I think will be really pretty good actually. So yeah, look at that. As you can see, and as you would expect from a hazy or modern IPA, this one's poured a lovely kind of bright, this is more leaning towards the yellow end of the spectrum actually. It looks very, very nice. I have to say this one is pretty damn hazy for a 6.5%er. It looks actually, it looks at you know, almost the same haze level as you'd get from some of the big doubles, around 8%. So that's an interesting point to make about this one. You could see that there was about a third of a finger of a frothy, perfect white head. That's faded away to just be a very, very thin foamy layer. One or two big bubbles sticking towards the side of the glass, a few little ones going up towards the bottom of that head there, but you know, overall it does look pretty damn nice. If I put my fingers behind the glass, there you can see at the level of haze of this one. But yeah, definitely leaning towards that yellow end of the spectrum in terms of its colour. I think that looks very, very nice actually. I like how this one goes together. Looks awesome. So yeah, let's see how this this beer goes in terms of its aroma, because I can tell you I'm getting little wafts of it, but I think this is going to smell very, very nice. So nothing overly surprising about this beer in terms of its appearance. Let's check that aroma then. Ooh, that does smell pretty good actually. This one, the malt base in this smells really interesting actually. So definitely a nice bit of a kind of bready base to it. There is something a little bit grainy about the malts in there as well. So yeah, you do get a nice little bit of a kind of white bready, kind of pale malty quality to this one. I like the, I really like how this one goes together actually. The aroma, this is really, it's really good. So straight away with this one, you can smell, it smells like a little bit of a kind of buttery bread crust. You can smell a little bit of that. You do get some of the kind of thicker, doughy or white bready yeasty notes, and you also get a little bit of you do get some of the wheaty notes out of this. You can get a little bit of that pungent wheaty quality, and you can also get some of the oaty creaminess in there. I do wonder if this beer maybe has a little bit of rye in it, because there is just something in there that it just smells a little touch grainy. It does have just a little bit of a brown bready quality to it, so maybe there is a wee bit of rye in here. And rye can give you some, it can be really interesting to put that in these hazy New England IPAs. So I do like how this, how the aroma of the malt base in this one goes together. But I mean, in terms of its malt base, there's nothing overly surprising about this one, but I do like that kind of buttery, bread crusty aroma that this beer has. I think that's really pretty damn nice, I have to say. So thumbs up to I was going to say Nordic Kiwi, Northern Exposure, for how this beer's turned out in terms of its aroma. So yeah, I like that. On the hoppy side of things then, on the green side of things, I'd say there is a good bit of floral character to this one. It's kind of balanced, I think, between the floral side of things and the grassy side of things. I'm guessing it's Mandarina Bavaria that's giving you a lot of these nice kind of lighter, softer green parts of the beer, and I'm guessing that if it's a dry hopped beer, then you're not going to get too much pungency in terms of the floral and aromatic side of things. So it is kind of subtle actually. You don't get too much pungency from that. The beer actually really smells very smooth and a little bit of, a little bit oily and juicy rather than anything else. But yeah, you get some nice, there's one or two little earthy notes out of it, but it's quite a soft earthiness, and I would say that's probably coming from the noble characters that you get from Mandarina. But yeah, on the fruity side of things, you definitely get a little bit of that stronger passion fruit from Simcoe, definitely. And you get some of the oranges. You do get some. It's quite a juicy orange actually that you're getting from the from Mandarina Bavaria. The more and more that I smell of this, the more that it leans towards the stronger elements of the Simcoe. So that's a kind of interesting point to make about this one. I do pick out a little bit of the liminess from the Kohatu, but I don't get so much in the way of a pineapple-y note out of this. Yeah, I think if you take the aroma in more deeply, it smells very, very soft, and then maybe you can get some pineapple out of it, and you get the juicier elements of the Simcoe. But then you also get the kind of more oily oranges at the same time, and and earlier on you do get a little bit of the darker. Passion fruit to this one as well. So I do like how that goes together. It's a nice smelling beer, this, I have to say. The more and more I smell of it, the more I get a little bit of a kind of biscuity, butterscotchy type thing from the middle, from the malty side of things too. But yeah, to sum it up, it's a very nice smelling beer, this one, and I think it's going to taste pretty good actually. So let's have a taste of this one then and just see how we get on. This one is the Dolphin Love, a double dry hopped hazy IPA, New England IPA, whatever you want to call it, from Northern Exposure Brewing Company in Ekerö, just out to the west of Stockholm. Let's get stuck into this one. Sláinte, skål. Yeah, that's a nice beer. Yeah, definitely. This one does really follow on in the same light as the Chaos, the Clive, and the Tutti Frutti, if I'm remembering the name right, the big 8%er that I had. I think that was the last beer, if I remember. It was either It was one of the Chaos or Clive, or it was the Tutti Frutti was the last beer that I reviewed from Nordic Kiwi Brewers. But yeah, this one really follows on in the same light. I do find this one a little bit smoother and softer than those ones, come to think of it, because the other ones had quite a, I felt they had quite a bit of an oily, boozy kind of character in the malt base, but this one they've managed to smooth it out a little bit, and it really is very, very drinkable actually. I think they're on to a winner with this, so you know, thumbs up to Northern Exposure with this. They've pulled off a really nice beer here, and this one, this makes me quite excited to try the Crossing Divides one, because I think the Crossing Divides one's got hops in it that I really, really like. I mean, I've got, you know, these hops here. I like an orangey leaning IPA, like I always love a bit of Amarillo and things, but in this one the hops in here are obviously nice, but the other one has hops that I really, really like, so very curious to try that one actually. But this is a nice beer. Have a go at this one for yourself and just and see what you think. Yeah, this is solid, this actually. I'd love to see these guys have a go at like an American West Coast IPA. I think this would be a really interesting thing, because they've got, it seems now they've got the hazy thing pretty much down. It would be nice to see them have a go at like a black IPA and I think probably an Imperial Black. Going by the way these guys brew, I think an Imperial Black, you know, an 8% or so, would be a good thing for these guys. A West Coast IPA, a properly caramelly West Coast IPA, not one of these new biscuity type ones, a properly old school caramelly West Coast IPA with some of these New Zealand hops I think would be a nice project for them. But this one really is, this is very, very nice actually. I certainly wouldn't hesitate to drink this again. This is great. So easy to drink as well. So yeah, let's try and break down the flavour of this one then. I'm getting this one just in good nick as well, because the double, you know, the dry hopping. The thing is, when you dry hop a beer, it can almost, if you drink it too early, it can sometimes come across as very, very dusty. So yeah, that's one of the interesting things about that actually. But yeah, the flavour of this is very nice. So the malt base in the middle of your palate, you get that nice kind of pale malty quality that blankets the middle of the tongue. On top of that, and as you go further into the aftertaste, you can feel it thickening up a little bit. As you go towards the back of the palate, you get a little bit more of that bitiness from the wheat. It's not overly bitey, it's actually very, very smooth rather than anything else, but you will get one or two little kind of slightly astringent parts coming out of that. As you come further forward on the tongue there, in the middle third of the tongue it actually feels very light but very smooth at the same time. The back third of the tongue is a bit thick and more wheaty, and there's a wee teeny touch of spice to it, but the middle part of the palate, as I say, you've got a nice how do you say, just a nice little bit of lighter kind of crispy notes. You've got a wee bit of a biscuity quality just sitting in on top of that as well, which is nice. And yeah, the biscuity note comes out a little bit more the further you go into the aftertaste. That sort of more oily, butterscotchy thing that I was picking up in this beer, there's maybe a teeny bit of that, but that comment I made I don't think really holds water when it comes to the way this beer develops in its flavour. If you go towards the front part of that second third of your tongue, you will get a wee bit more of the kind of oaty creaminess out of this one. It's very smooth, very nice. The oaty qualities that this beer has actually are very, very nice. But yeah, on the hoppy side of things then, the malt base isn't really doing anything overly surprising, but it's really nice and smooth, and it does develop a little bit of a sweetness the further you go into the aftertaste as well. But on the hoppy side of things, back corners of the palate, there is definitely a little bit of an earthiness there, and it's a kind of soft earthiness, which I'm guessing will be from the Mandarina Bavaria, because it does have that sort of German, almost noble quality to it. I've found that even with the slightly higher alpha acid German hops like the Hallertau Blanc and the Mandarina Bavaria and things, they do still have a little bit of that typical grassy and floral and light earthy character that you expect of the Hallertaus, the Tittnangers, the Pearls, and you know, all of these kind of things, the Hercules. Pardon me. So the German hops always have this little bit of nice light grassy earthiness, and you really get that on the side of the palate here. So yeah, the back corners of the palate, there's a little bit of that soft earthiness. As you come further forward, you can feel the beer just developing a little bit of a floral character. It does get a wee bit almost spicy on the front corners of the palate. Simcoe can give you a little bit of a kind of spicy note, but if mainly these hops are late addition hops in the boil, or they're dry hopped, they're going to be mainly for flavour and aroma. They're not really going to contribute to bitterness. That's the trade-off you have. The earlier you add the hops into the boil, the more bitterness you get, and then the later you add them, the less bitterness, the more flavour and aroma you get out of them. And of course, dry hopping basically is just flavour and aroma purely. So yeah, with the around the front curve of the tongue, it's definitely a little bit lighter and grassy, and then behind that front curve of the palate, you get that nice oily bubble where those juicy fruity esters start to push their way out of the beer. And again, this one's got a really nice kind of softness to it, which I really like. I like how this one goes together. This is a really solid IPA in my opinion. I like this. Yeah, this is absolutely solid in my mind. So yeah, this beer, the fruity side of this beer again is very nice. If you go towards the back of that oily part, that oily fruity part of your palate, so if you go towards the back, there is a little bit of a darker, there is a wee bit of a darker passion fruity note to it, but it very quickly kind of smoothens out and becomes a nice light, juicy thing that you associate with that you would always associate Simcoe with. Then is on the front part of the palate there, you do start to get, you can feel the oranges from the Mandarin Bavaria and the kind of limey notes from the Kohatu kind of mixing together. As you move almost towards the very front edge of the tongue, it's mainly the limey notes from the Kohatu that kind of sticks out there. But you've also got, you do also, I don't really get so much of the pineapple and things like that that you're supposed to get from Kohatu in this beer. There's maybe a little bit of it. The further you go into the aftertaste, the fruits do develop and become a little bit softer, but I think it's more a kind of nice passion fruity note. It almost has a little bit of a kind of papaya type quality to it, this one. The further you go into the aftertaste, it does almost develop this sort of papaya type flavour, which is quite interesting. But I mean, we can talk about the different fruity flavours and stuff like that all day long. The main message to take away here is that this is a really very, very nice beer actually, so I recommend that you have a go at this one for yourself and just see what you think. I think they've done a very, very good job of this one. So big thumbs up to Northern Exposure Brewing Company here. I can see why. I don't know if I can't remember if it was Craig or Karen that actually commented on the last post that I made on Facebook. But they were said, oh, you really should have tried the Dolphin juice as your first one. But so yeah, I can see exactly why they were recommending that. But this is a solid beer, and it makes me very curious to try the Crossing Divide. So that will definitely be in my next Systembolag order. No fears about that. But yeah, in terms of the mouthfeel of this one, then. This is, yeah, a mid-bodied beer. Carbonation is very smooth. The mouthfeel has a little bit of oiliness to it, but at the same time, it's very, very smooth. Overall, I'd say this is quite, it's a balance between a smooth, oily, and juicy, hazy IPA. They've got this, I think, yeah, they've got this really down. Like I said, in the last couple of beers they were doing with Nordic Kiwi, they really were starting, you could see the progress between those. They were on a different level from the other Nordic Kiwi things before. And now, yeah, they seem to have it really down. So I think there's exciting times ahead for this brewery, and I'm curious to see what the fake IPA that I have in the fridge is going to be like as well. But yeah, in terms of hoppy bitterness and things, I think this one's your kind of standard 30-ish IBUs. It might even be 25, it might even be a little bit less than that. But the malt base is really nice and smooth. There is a degree of sweetness to it as well. It thickens up a little bit the further you go into the aftertaste, and you've got a nice kind of juicy, oily character to this one as well. The further you go into the flavour as well, the fruitiness out of this beer is really nice. So that Kohatu, Mandarina Bavaria, and Simcoe, the mix of hops that they have in this, I think, is very, very nice actually. So, thumbs up to them for having a go at this, and I do hope that they continue with this New Zealand thing. I think it'd be nice actually for them to do a properly all New Zealand IPA, I think it would be nice for them to do like a single hop series. I think that would be a very cool thing for these guys to do a single hop series and educate people about the different New Zealand hops, because I mean there's so many. There's Kohatu. This one, Kohatu, of course, is named after the Maori word for rock. So yeah, you've got Kohatu, you've got Raka, Riwaka, Maltere, Malteke, Waiti. There's loads of other ones that I've come across that aren't coming to my head just now. There's lots of great hops from New Zealand because there's no natural competitors for the plants there, so it's a bit of a hop haven, to be honest. So yeah, try some New Zealand hops if you get the chance. I love them, and I really hope, as I say, that I can get back to New Zealand at some point soon. But yeah, let's leave it at that for this beer. This one is the Dolphin Love, a double dry hopped IPA at 6.5%, hazy IPA from Northern Exposure Brewing Company in Ekerö, just out to the west of Stockholm. Thank you again for watching, and I will catch you guys very soon. You're definitely going to see more of this brewery over the coming weeks and months, I'm sure. Slàinte, skål, cheers.